Okay, I'd like to call to order the first meeting of the Policing and Community Engagement Committee for Thursday, June 25th. So pursuant to the Executive Order N29-20, committee members may be attending this meeting via teleconference. Any votes conducted during the teleconference session will be conducted by roll call vote. To learn how to review and/or participate in the teleconferencing meeting, please read the teleconferencing guidelines for the City of Union City Committee on Policing and Community Engagement attached to this agenda. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Emily Duncan.
Here.
Councilmember Pat Gakoskos.
Here.
Commissioner Melissa Schwen Mallory.
Here.
Commissioner Michelle Williams Smith. Michelle, I think you're muted. I think you should be unmuted. Not. Okay, and then Commissioner Jonathan Petty.
Here.
Commissioner Petty, I can't hear you either.
Here.
Okay,
No?
thank you.
Uh-oh.
Thank you.
It's better.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all for roll call.
I think we forgot Commissioner Jen Mallory. Did we call her?
Yes.
She said no. Call her again.
Commissioner Schwen Mallory.
I'm here.
Okay. Looks like we're all here and we're all going to learn a lot tonight on how to use this new technology for our meeting here, for those of us that are new to it. So the second item on our agenda is oral communication. And before we do oral communication, I just want to make a note that on the agenda, we will also have a second oral communication at item 4 on the agenda. So this is an opportunity for persons to speak on items not listed on the agenda. According to the California Government Code, the committee is prohibited from taking any immediate action on an item which does not appear on the agenda. Emma, do we have anyone that wants to speak at this time under oral communication?
We do not have any oral correspondence at this time.
And Emily, do you mind if I go ahead and instruct people on how they can participate at this moment?
That would be great.
Great. Okay, I see that there's about 23 people logged on as attendees, so thank you everybody for attending tonight. If you want to be able to share your feedback with the committee, and surely this isn't the only meeting, but throughout the next several weeks, the ways that you could do that as an attendee is to utilize the moderator chat. So there's a moderator chat function, and send in your comments to us directly. We will read them onto the record. If you do send in your comments to us via moderator chat, please note your name and address for the record. And the other option would be to raise your hand. So there's a raise your hand feature that is also an option here on the teleconferencing app. And when you do raise your hand, what will happen is we will then promote you to speaker during the designated oral communication time. You can feel free to share your video, but if you're just comfortable with audio, that's perfectly appropriate too. So those are the two ways, and we'll make sure to reiterate that, Emily, as often as needed throughout this meeting.
Great. Okay, so there's no one at this time. As I mentioned before, we will have an oral communication later in the meeting. So we're going to move on to item 3, which is new business. The introduction, to introduce the framework of the Obama Foundation, the commitment to action. You may recall that after the awful events that happened with George Floyd, there was a request for all of the mayors to sign this pledge. And there's been a lot of talk and concern about what does the pledge say, and I wanted us all to get on the same page today by taking a look at the pledge that the mayor signed. So the pledge that the mayor signed asks her to do 4 things actually. To review your police use of force policies, to engage your communities by including a diverse range of input, experiences, and stories in your review, to report the findings of your review to the community and seek feedback, and to reform your community's police use of force policies. So these 4 items are kind of the foundation of this committee. After signing this pledge, our mayor thought that it would be a helpful strategy for us to come together, a couple of members from the City Council and 3 members from the Human Relations Commission, to develop and implement a community engagement strategy. And these are the items that are on the original pledge. And of course, the work that we do, the comments that we hear might expand our charter, but I thought it was important for us all to see and start from the same place, that we're here to focus on and understand how we can enhance these policies and strengthen the communication and trust with the community. So are there any comments from any of the committee members about this pledge? Any questions about it? Any concerns about it before we move on? Just so we're all on the same page. Let me just start with Councilmember Gakoskas.
My question, Madam Chair, is: are we will accept comments from everyone, but how are we going to handle comments from outside of Union City? Because I know the other cities have almost similar similar meetings like this. So how do we handle that one, especially when we make our report to the City Council?
Well, I think what our strategy will be is to hear all of the comments and the input. And of course, when we make our feedback, we'll be as clear as we can about what came from our community and what some other members of the region provided for us. But we'll receive all comments and input.
Okay, that's what I thought also, but it would be nice to hear, especially from our own community, because we heard a lot of, we want to listen to them, specific questions, specific suggestions, and a specific and unique problems that we have in Union City. So that's
Yes.
all, Vice Mayor. Yeah.
Okay. I see a hand there, Commissioner Jen-Mallory.
Yes. So I remember that the City Council had a report about the 8 Can't Wait policies, and I believe that was committed to, that was part of the My Brother's Keeper Alliance Commit to Action pledge that the mayor signed. Are we going to have a similar report given to this committee as to how the police department's current policies align with the 8 Can't Wait campaign's suggestions?
So the chief of police was scheduled to give that presentation to the City Council last night, and the mayor and the chief decided that it would be best to pull it from the City Council agenda to give this committee an opportunity to have that presentation first and to provide any feedback or thoughts on it. But the 8 Can't Wait, and we'll hear this when we invite the chief to join us and go over that, is not tied to the Brothers Keeper Alliance, although it does come from Campaign Zero, and it is recommended as outstanding suggestions and ideas for police transformation, and I know that our chief has gone through them, and we will get him at one of our upcoming meetings. I thought that the conversation with the chief could be more productive for us if we had the opportunity to hear from the community first, so that it wouldn't shape the comments that we heard, or it would not focus the comments on his presentation. So he is on notice and he's ready to join us when we invite him, and we will invite him either at our second or third meeting. Okay?
Thank you.
Does that address your concerns there? All right, I don't see any more hands up. Does anybody else from the committee want to make a comment on this? I'll take that as a no. Okay, Commissioner Petty, is that a no? Did you want to, you're on mute, but did you want to comment on anything?
No, I have no comment. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner William Smith, did you want to make a comment?
So a quick question too, just to make sure that I didn't misunderstood or miss something. We are also going to go over, I gather, on how the committee is going to work and how the committee is going to be working with the community. I'm assuming that as well, correct?
That's our next item on the agenda.
Number 2. Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Okay. All right, if there aren't any more questions on this, I just wanted everybody to be clear about what the pledge was that the mayor had signed and how that pledge directly informed the work that we've been asked to do here. But yes, we'll get all of those other items on the agenda going forward. So hold that thought, and when we come back to you for input for future meetings, we'll make sure that that gets included in the appropriate place. So the next item on the agenda under new business is a brief report on how the committee is going to operate. And I've asked Lauren if she would go through that. We've had some early conversations about what we thought would be the most effective way to move forward, but we'd be quite interested in hearing your feedback and thoughts about this. So Lauren?
Yes, and so this is going to, for those following along the agenda, this will pretty consistently follow that. We wanted to note that we anticipate meetings to occur every Thursday from here on out until the committee feels like their business has concluded. The only Thursday that I pulled off our schedule was next Thursday because it's the July 4th week, and many people take vacations at that time. But if you scroll down to the bottom of the agenda, I listed out 4 other Thursday dates in July. So that's not to insinuate that we conclude at the end of July. I just wanted to make sure that gets on everybody's calendar. The meetings will occur at 6:30 each Thursday evening, and Emily and I talked about concluding them around 8:30, just to kind of give it a time cap. And so we'll be kind of watching time, and myself and Emily and probably Emma will try our best to keep track of time and let you guys know once we get close to that 2-hour time cap. In terms of decisions, so of course, I've talked with everybody about not wanting to approach this so much as a formal committee. We are a Brown Act body, but certainly as flexible as we can be, we want to. So we recommend that decisions be made through consensus. So really everybody kind of talking things out and agreeing with one another. We are encouraging, so the city will be promoting these meetings each week. And we are going to be really encouraging the public to attend and participate and provide public comment. One of the things that I wanted to, and I'll get through the end of my section here, but one of the things I wanted to seek your feedback on was how you felt about Facebook Live, for example. We have been doing more Facebook Live recently. We're certainly open to it. Our data analytics show, and just to speak to Pat's concerns, our data analytics show that Union City residents are the people who follow us mostly on Facebook Live. So just wanted to put that out there and assess that your comfort zone with that. We will hold oral communication at every meeting. So as Emily mentioned, likely we'll be holding it toward the end of the meeting. I'm going to go ahead and make sure to provide instruction to people, to our group of attendees, how to provide oral communication, because we realize that coming on to a teleconferencing app, that's not always easy. Traditional with city council meetings, we will cap the oral comment at 3 minutes per speaker. So when we get to that 3-minute mark, and just for all of our attendees listening tonight, when we get to that 3-minute mark, we will go ahead and just mute you, which is consistent with what we've done at city council meetings. So please do not take offense to it. We're just trying to stick to our schedule. For those who do want to provide oral comment, we will routinely ask for name and address. So that just helps us to understand, and as Pat mentioned earlier, what concerns and questions are coming into us from where. So that's very helpful for us. And then one thing I also just wanted to note, as you've noticed me here tonight, I've been calling people by first name. So I wanted to also just put it out to the group. What are you comfortable with? Are we comfortable with first names, or would you prefer formal titles? So I'll hang back and I'll take notes from what you guys come up with.
Okay, so thank you, Lauren. So she's got a couple of items there we need to make some conscious decisions about. How about Facebook Live? Is everybody okay with that, or does anybody have a strong preference that we not do it? Looks like Jonathan's okay with it.
What is Facebook Live?
Say again?
What is
Michelle's okay with
Facebook Live
Okay.
anyway?
What
You
is
broadcast it through Facebook?
How about a little tutorial here for Councilman? So as the meeting is happening here, it will be happening on Facebook Live.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the way it works right now, Pat, is if people want to attend the meeting, they have to log into the Blue Jeans app in order to do that. And streaming it to Facebook Live would do just that. It would come up on our Facebook page, and and followers of the city. So anybody who likes the city's Facebook page will be able to see it. It really doesn't. When you go Facebook Live, it really doesn't broadcast to outside of the community. It generally tends to stay within people who just like and follow us. So that it's potentially an option if you want more visibility.
Okay, good.
So you okay with that? You okay
I'm
with
okay.
it, Melissa?
I'm okay with it, yes.
Okay.
I have no problem with the Facebook Live. Lauren, I just wanted to ask if that would be accompanied with instructions on how people can make oral commentary, because I know that's not a feature that's available through Facebook Live. So will people have to type their commentary, or will you put something when we go live with a link to the Blue Jeans? If people want to make oral commentary, they can just click on it and come over and,
Exactly. Just for, management purposes, that would be the only downfall. Is it is tough to kind of, we wouldn't recommend, public comments come onto the record through Facebook. So yeah, we would definitely turn people towards the Blue Jeans link if they want to put something on the record. We won't be necessarily taking in feedback through Facebook Live, because really our focus is here in Blue Jeans and monitoring the conversation here.
Okay. So Michelle.
The other question I have is, I heard that when the person is going to speak or ask a question, that they would like to give their name and address. Is that address being broadcasted?
Yeah, so Michelle, consistent with council meetings, that's the practice, is that we do name and address for the record. So yeah, it's the same practice that we follow for any Brown Act meeting.
Okay, and being that this is informal, does that really have to go? Because some people might not want to give their address. That's what I'm kind of concerned about, being this is a community and people are making discussions from all over, and being that this could be a subject that can get rather touchy. People might be worried about their home information being given.
Okay, so we'll take that feedback and we will think about it because it will be important for us to have some way to report on how many of the comments we received came from Union City. Not that we don't care about them all, but we are trying to focus on the community. So we'll take that away, Michelle, and we will think about that. The other open item that Lauren asked was about us using first names. So I'm quite okay with everyone calling me Emily. If you're okay with it, I think it kind of makes us all members of the same team here so that we don't have to worry about getting our labels right. So I'm Emily and you're Pat, you're
Yeah.
Melissa, you're Michelle, you're Jonathan, and Lauren and Emma. So we'll operate on that basis if everybody's good with that. Okay, I see the thumbs up. Great.
Okay.
So we're going to move to the next item under new business, which is C. And I just wanted to say that for tonight's meeting, because it was our first meeting, we had a lot of organizational stuff. How we're going to get started, how we're going to operate, what our framework will be. And then for future meetings, hopefully we'll have more time to hear from others. But this third item talks about our community outreach plan. How are we going to do that? And so some of our early thoughts on this would be that we would identify individuals from the community and invite them in. And as we brainstormed who those individuals would be, we came up with some general categories like community leaders, leaders of nonprofits in the community that touch individuals in the community are able to give us feedback on how their constituents experience the police organization, and certainly the public. The public is always invited and welcomed, but we thought that we could go out and specifically invite individuals in to give us an update on what they're hearing. They're kind of our eyes and ears out in the community. We kind of started with a brainstorm list of some of the key players, but one of the things we thought would be helpful for us would be to hear from you, who you thought in those categories you'd like to make sure we add to the list. We will grab those names, we'll put them on the list, and as you offer your suggestions, if you don't cover the ones that are on my list, I will conclude this with the ones that I have on my early list. So why don't we start with you, Pat? Do you have some community leaders, leaders of nonprofits, individuals in the community that you think are movers and shakers that we need to make sure we hear from?
I think we should hear from the business community, and I'm thinking of the representative from the Chamber of Commerce, Union City Chamber of Commerce. Yes.
Okay, that would be Ray.
Ray,
Is
yeah.
Ray still the leader of the chamber?
He's the executive director, and I think he can suggest any other person, member of the board, board of directors. But we'll ask them if they will participate.
Okay, and what we thought we'd do is after we get the names, we're going to come up with a formal letter asking them to join us and tell them the importance of the commitment of this committee and what we've been asked to do and how they can help us. So Melissa, do you have a long list?
I'm sure some of these people are already on your list.
Well, let's see. How about it?
I would suggest Abigail Andrade. She was one of the leaders of the rally that we had, and is really involved with the students at James Logan. She's a high school counselor.
Okay.
Also, the leaders of Faith in Action Network, I'm sure on your list, and they used to be known as CORE. Filipino Advocates for Justice. And then just, different faith leaders such as, Reverend Brown. I'm sure that he already made the list.
So Faith in Action, is there a name? You said it used to be called CORE. Is that what it
used to be called CORE. I know Mary Schlarb as well as Michael Chapman, who are both on the board.
Okay. Do you have a suggestion as to who we should invite, Mary? Should we start with Mary?
We can start with Mary. Michael's also started a new organization called Southern Alameda County Resistance Network. So as the founder of that, I would invite Michael as well. So that way we get both of them.
Okay, well, let's put both names down. So we'll put Mary down for Faith in Action. That's a new organization. I'm not familiar with it. And then Michael's organization is called what?
Southern Alameda County Resistance Network.
Okay, I'm going to hope that Emma and Lauren got that. Okay. Is that it? Melissa?
I also suggested Reverend Brown and the Pastors Alliance.
Okay, we got that. Very good. And if you think of something as we're going through this won't be your only opportunity to give us a name. So if something comes up, we'll come back around to you. So Michelle, are you ready to give us your list?
I can give you some, but I would like to, I will have more. As you know, during Black History Month, we actually have a list of the Black owners around in the area of Union City. So I don't have right now that right in front of me. I do have the list, but I'm not sure that everyone that's with the faith-based program is also part of the list that I have. I'm thinking about Mark Gaston, Bethel's Baptist Church.
The Village Method? Are you thinking of the Village Method or are you thinking of his father?
Both.
Okay.
Okay, we already talked about Reverend Brown. How about Pastor Ken Baker? The Tri-City African Methodist Church. New Hope Baptist Church.
Well, we have them kind of listed as the Pastors Alliance, and they
Okay.
typically...
I just wanted to make sure everybody was on that list because I didn't know if, okay, and also to the Brothers Lace Hawkins.
What's that?
Brothers Hawkins. So it's the Union Church at Union City, Church of Latter Rain. So I have those on there.
Okay. So
Okay,
you might need to send us that list because what we have is the Pastors Alliance. One or two of the names that you mentioned aren't members of that alliance, but they have asked that we come to them and that they send us a representative. And it has been Pastor Brown, but we're certainly open to hearing from any or all of them.
Okay, and then I'll come back and I'll get the other list, but there's a longer list for some of the Black owners within Union City.
The Black businesses, do you have that list? You can send it to Lauren and we can incorporate it.
Okay.
Okay, is that it?
Yes.
Okay, Jonathan.
I'm just hoping too that someone has information for certain youth. We want the youth to be there as well. So I don't know if anyone has a list or names of any youth.
Well, we'll talk about that when we're done with our list and we'll see if we have that.
Okay.
Okay. Jonathan, what do you have?
Well, Michelle and Melissa took about all of them on my list already. So I don't have a whole lot more to contribute at this point. I would like to see maybe some representation, maybe from some of the local healthcare to hear their take on what they see in the community. Tiburcio comes to mind. Tri-City Health comes to mind. I don't know who's over at Tri-City Health anymore.
We can check it out.
I guess my other question is are we constraining these people that we're inviting to locally Union City or a little larger regional kind of an invite?
Well, we are focused on Union City, and if you have someone whose constituency or members are in Union City, certainly it would be helpful. We have not been given the authority to solve the problems for the region, so we are trying to localize the discussion as much as we can. So unless they have the ability to speak to our issues or are in some way servicing our issues, because some of our nonprofit, the leaders don't live in Union City, but they service our city. So we're open to that as long as they can speak to the issues that their constituents have experienced in our city. Okay.
Well, that helps frame my mindset for thinking of other potential
Okay.
people.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, let me see if you didn't hit anything on my list. So you had
Emily?
Pastor Brown. Yes. Who is that
Okay,
called my name? Pat?
that's me. Yes.
Mhm.
I know Melissa mentioned this one, the Filipino Advocates for Justice, and that's Chris Cara.
Chris Cara. Yep.
Yes.
I had him on my list too, so I'm glad you mentioned that. Okay.
And I want to include Lee Gio also, who is active with the different diverse community representation. And it's the sister city, but
Yeah, he's a leader in the Sister Cities.
We work together, but we have a lot of members that are coming from a diverse, cultural group. So, and he
Okay.
is also with the CERT, so I think he has some
Something
ideas.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So let's see what's left on my list here. I have Jaime Hamria from Centro.
Yeah.
He would have his hands all over the community and can bring us some excellent perspective. I thought Nancy George could also give us some perspective. She's the executive director at our Union City Family Center. I have on my list here Derek Richardson. Some of you may remember him. He was the former HRC chair, and I know this is a topic that he has some very strong feelings and experiences about. I did have a member of the Youth Commission that we thought we would tap to see if they would want to collectively come and speak with us about their members or their colleagues' experience. We'll have to check and see since they're out of school and not in touch, but we do have them on the list. And it was our understanding that there was an equity task force or team over at New Haven that might be important for us to connect into. So we'll have to check in with them to see what the status of those committees are now that they're in the summer months, and if there's someone that we can get from them. Melissa, I see your hand up.
Yes, I thought of some more people.
Okay, can you let me finish this one thought?
I'm sorry.
I was just going to suggest that we, I'm not quite sure if it's called the Equity Task Force or what the group is called, but it's clearly a team over at New Haven that's dealing with these issues, and we'll try to find out. There are several groups. There's the restorative justice groups. There's the Equity Task Force. We'll inquire from the superintendent who would be the best group for us to invite in and talk with us about particular experiences of the youth there in the district. Okay, Melissa.
I was making notes in another window. There's also a group called Mujeres Unidas y Activas, which is headed by Lourdes Martinez. It's regional, but I believe that they probably have people in Union City that are part of their membership. And I don't think that we mentioned YFS. Did we mention YFS?
No, we haven't mentioned our own internal organization, but they're on the list.
Okay.
And yeah, for sure. And I did have on my list the Village Method, which was Mark Gaskin, but someone mentioned his father and him. So we'll make sure that one or both of them are on our list. And of course, for a future meeting, we'll certainly have our chief of police come and talk with us about the organization, the work they're doing, feedback they're getting. So we want to make sure that we have enough feedback from the community that when he comes, he can shape his comments in a way that allows him to begin to address some of the issues that we're hearing. But we think that we'll have our second meeting filled with community presentations first, and maybe have our chief join us in the third meeting. But as you can see, Lauren's put us to work for a while, and the mayor asked me how long did I think it would take us to complete our task. And I took a stab at it and I said, well, maybe 60 days, maybe 90 days. So depends on how quickly people respond to us, how much feedback we get. But this is not going to be a never-ending endeavor. So we're looking out maybe at least the longest would be a 3-month cycle.
Emily,
and maybe
sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
Michelle had one comment before we come to you, Lauren.
Okay, so I guess, Lauren, what I will do is send you, my list is about 14 people long for the Black businesses within Union City. So instead of going through that whole list, I guess I could just send it over to you instead of going through the whole thing. And we want to make sure that, I know we did talk about nonprofits and other organizations, but I want to really truly make sure that we have someone that's representing for mental health as well, very strongly on that there for mental
So
health.
do you have a name? I mean, we have several organizations that's a part of their charter, but do you have an organization specifically that you'd like to make sure is there?
At this moment, no. I'll look at the list that I have, and then
Okay.
I can bring that, because I
That'd be
want
helpful.
something that's around, all around, just not for one particular part of mental health. So,
Okay, well, when you come up with the list, just send it to Lauren, and what we'll do is we'll look at how long the list is. We just don't want a list that will keep us here for a couple of years. We're going to try to prioritize and ensure that we're getting our leaders and our nonprofits in, but more importantly, I would like for us to leave enough time at every meeting. I had originally thought maybe 45 minutes so we could hear from the community, those individuals who aren't representing a specific organization, or we may not know who they are, but they have some specific thoughts and insights that they want to share with us. So we're going to shape future agendas so that half the meeting is our business and our presentations, and the other half of the meeting is an opportunity for us to hear from the community. A lot of the feedback that the mayor received when they did the town hall session was that there just wasn't enough time to hear from the community. And so that's the one thing we want to make sure that we do in every meeting. So if you don't see the name of the person you've listed come up immediately, know that because we want to shape the agenda so that we hear from the community. And if you know community members that are not on our list, that they don't represent a nonprofit, or they're not on our list of community leaders, but they care strongly about this issue, let them know. They can just show up and be in our general open comment section. So that's really what we're here for, and that's my priority, that we hear from the community members. Michelle, you had your hand up again?
yes, I did. Sorry.
Okay, we're happy to hear from you.
Not really, but okay. The Afro-American Cultural and Historical Society.
Okay, Darlene Green?
Yes.
She said, yeah, okay. We'll make sure she gets invitation. Okay, so anybody who had an opportunity to rethink their list or they want to add to their list? Melissa.
Okay, sorry. I have to give credit to community member Vanessa Sadsad, who is texting me these things. Okay. You mentioned that Tracy Noriega is on the equity.
Is it the Equity Task Force? Is that what it's called?
Equity Council.
Equity Council.
Yeah. She suggests she would be a good person to reach out to there. And
is she a teacher, Melissa? Is she a teacher or is she a student? What is she? Do you know? Mm-hmm.
It says she's a director of assessment and evaluation.
Okay, perfect. We'll add
school district.
Okay, we'll add her to the list.
And she's also Filipino Educators Association, and she's also an architect of the ethnic studies curriculum.
Okay, so we have her down, right?
Yeah, and I would actually add Vanessa Sadsad. She's born and raised in Dakota and is on the board of the SAC Resistance Network as well. So
did we get her name? What's her name? Vanessa what?
Sadsad.
Do you want her on our community leaders, or does she represent a nonprofit?
She's with the SAC Resistance Network as well with Michael.
With Michael. Okay.
Yeah.
So you want us to extend the invitation to either or to both?
I'd say both.
They can come together, to represent the organization. Okay. All right.
Melissa, this is Emma. Can you spell her last name for me?
SAD.
It is SAD. SAD.
Okay. Very good. And all of these individuals are in Union City, where we'll be able to get an email or an address, because it is our plan to send them a communication and invite them to be with us. So if we have email addresses that are available that you can share with us, we'd be happy to send an email, or if we need to send a letter through U.S. Postal Service, we'd be happy to do that. But for those individuals that you have offered us the names, if you could offline let us have either an email or a mailing address, that would help facilitate our process. Okay. Michelle, did we get back to you, or was that another thought that you had that you wanted to share?
I guess I'll just send you the information, because we did talk about Cypress Mandela Training Center that's in here in Union City as well. And then one of the people I would think would be Dr. Darrell Blackburn. And from what I understand, he had led some programs once before. He's with, so I would like his name to be on that paper as well.
Okay, so then I'm going to ask each of you, if you've offered us a name, if you could offer us a communication channel to reach the person, either a email address or a mailing address. That would be helpful to us. Okay, and then we can get the process started.
And Emily, do you mind if I follow up on a couple items here?
Yeah.
We did get a couple people who reached out to us through the moderator chat, and I just want to put it onto the record. Thank you to Chris Cara. He sent in a recommendation for Manny Allen, who's a Black Studies teacher at Logan High School. So I've added him to our list.
Okay.
And in addition, there is a representative of SAVE on the line, Jenna Oxford, who's one of our attendees tonight, and she recommended or encouraged SAVE be a part of the conversation as well. So I've added their organization onto the record. One thing, and as Emily mentioned, what you could do to help us, because this list is really big, is to send me the recommendations you made tonight, because a lot of the names we don't know how to spell, and we don't want to get anything wrong, along with their contact information. So that'll be helpful for us to get going on that. One other item, if you don't mind, Emily, that I wanted to ask is, or at least recommend, is I think there's a couple approaches here. We can send an invitation to, invite them, to come speak with us, and schedule them over the next, handful of weeks. Another thing we could do too is just attach a questionnaire of some sort. So some people might not, want to come for whatever reason, or they might be too busy, or who knows. But maybe we can still get valuable feedback. So, if we just give maybe a second option to where if they can't make it to one of our meetings, but maybe they can write in their feedback to us, that might be enough, because the list is so long. So we're not gonna be able to have everybody come. So maybe for those people that don't come, we can at least still have an avenue to get their feedback. That's just a recommendation.
Okay, well, we'll have a working session, you and me and Emma, and we'll go through the list. And I do think that it's important that we get the feedback. So let's just figure out how we might do that. If people want to talk to us, we want to hear from them. And so we'll just have to figure out how we can do that. And I think, on each of these items, I thought that I might just open it up and see if there are any individuals in the audience who might want to comment on this. We're open to receiving that. We will have a second oral communication, but this is an important piece of our strategy and our framework. And I thank those of you that have sent notes in. But if there are any members of the public who are there now that would like to offer us any additional input on folks who we need to engage with, who we need to hear from, this would be a great time to do it. And I know that there are a variety of ways to do it. You can send us information in the chat. I'm not sure that you can actually speak with us at this time. Can they, Emma? If you want to, we're happy to hear your voice if you have some input you'd like to give us, but we're wanting to receive information at this moment around additional people or organizations that you think we should reach out to make a part of this engagement process. And when we finish this item, we're going to have plenty of time for oral communication if you have thoughts and feedback you want to give us on another topic. But for this purposes, I would ask if there's any additional information you'd like to give us around community leaders, nonprofits, movers and shakers in the community, people who are in touch with what our community members are experiencing in this area that would want to share with us some events, some issues, but more importantly, some recommendations around solutions. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do is to figure out how we can contribute to enhancing and strengthening our police organization and relationship in the community. We're not necessarily trying to just hear the negative. We'd like people to come to us also with some suggestions and some ideas on. A lot of people say how we re-envision or reimagine or how we make policing as effective as we can in Union City. So if there's anybody who's on the line that wants to speak to this particular item, this would be a great time for us to hear from you.
Emily?
Yeah, Pat?
Emily, I just, before you accept accept any speakers, I don't want to forget an important member of our community, and I know there are some of them are attending the meeting. So I would like to invite also a representative from the Sikh or the Indian community, like the Sikh Alliance. I'm not sure about the name of the organization, but I see some names here that represent their community. So I think we should invite a representative from them. Like maybe, I don't know, Gary Singh is the, I don't even know if he will be, he's willing to speak.
Gary's a council member and he'll receive this information, so he probably shouldn't be the one, but I take your point, and I'm sure that there are several key community leaders. We have several members on our HRC. Perhaps they can recommend someone to us. We'll reach out to a couple of the members of the HRC and see if they might recommend someone that we could add to the list. I think that's an excellent idea. Melissa's shaking her head, so she'll send an email out and see if we can get a recommendation of someone to come and speak with us in that regard. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So Emma, did you get any hands up or any additional emails from people that want to speak to us tonight on this topic?
No, we only the two that Lauren mentioned, and we have a couple that have sent us private chat recommendations. Doug Tatum, business owner in Union City. So I've asked for that contact information from the person who submitted it.
Okay.
It looks like also a submission from Aaron Harper, recommending Calico Center, the Children's Advocacy Center for Alameda County.
And where is it located? Did you get any information? Is it?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Calico is an agency that a lot of local partners, probably including UCPD, have worked with one way or another. We do have one more. I think, Emma, if you scroll up, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure we get everybody. Tariq Ali did write in and recommend Imam Tamim from, and I'm sorry if I don't say this correctly, from Masjid Al-Huda, representing the UC Muslim community. So we did get a representative there, and we'll go ahead and follow up with contact information.
Okay, great. And I would just say for the community also, I said this for committee members, if you walk away from this meeting tonight and you think of someone that you would have wanted us to know, we're always open to receiving the input. So there is a way that's on the link to this page that tells you how to communicate with us. So if you have a thought tomorrow or later tonight, send us an email and we'd be happy to receive it. Michelle, I saw your hand again.
Yeah, and I have the Tatum's address and information.
So you can send that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that can be on my list when I send it. And also a suggestion of the First People, or some people say Native Americans. I think we should reach out as well. And I think we could talk to Nancy George about that.
Well, we have Nancy on our list, so we'll ask Nancy to be prepared to talk with us about the clients that she serves and issues they may have, because she has a wide range of individuals in her portfolio. Okay, so with that, I know that you have a list that's long, Lauren and Emma, and we'll get together and we'll sort the list and we'll get our letters of invitation out. Hopefully we'll be able to at least have a few people that'll be able to join us at our next meeting, since we're not meeting on next Thursday because of the holiday. It'll give us a little time to get those letters out and get them on the agenda. Is that right? It is next Thursday that's the holiday, so we'll have some time to get these letters out for the next meeting. So if any of you run into these people individually, you might let them know that you've given us their names and make them aware that they'll be hearing from us shortly. Okay. So my thought was that it would be important for all of us to hear everything. At one point, there was a thought that we'd go out and have individual meetings and then we'd come back and share. And I thought that it would be so much more powerful if we could all hear all of the comments from all of our community members, so that when we get ready to make some recommendations, that we're all on the same page, we've all heard the same things, and it would make for, I think, a more effective recommendation to the City Council. So once again, I'll say, if you think of something that we missed, the door's not closed. Lauren, be happy to receive that from you. But we're going to move on from this item then, and we're going to move to the next item, which on your agenda says good of the order, and I've added to that oral communication, and I wanted this oral communication to be a general communication. If there's anyone on the call that wanted to just share with us some thoughts about things the committee ought to focus on, because tonight's meeting is an organizing meeting. It's a way for us to set the framework and the structure and the priorities for how we're going to work. We're not really yet ready to start receiving the input, but if there's anyone who would like to speak to any issues that we have not talked about or considered, this would be the perfect time to do it, and we'd love to hear from you. You can send it in through a chat, or you can hit the raise your hand button, or do any or all of the above. So Lauren, Emma, are there any individuals that you have? And while you're waiting to receive that, I would say that this is also the good of the order. So this is an opportunity for each of you on the committee, now that you've had an opportunity to kind of walk through the agenda, understand how we want to do this, to share any thoughts you may have about anything that we may have missed, so that when we go forward and put this framework into place, that everybody's thoughts are included. So I'm going to start with you, Jonathan, and see if you have any thoughts, additions, areas that we haven't really discussed tonight that you'd like to make sure that we go back and make sure is a part of this framework.
No, not really at this time. I'm more interested in hearing what our community has to say about what's going on, how they feel about the police in our community, the environment of our community, and have a chance to process what they say.
Okay. Michelle, what about you? Have you thought of, in addition to all the names you've given to us, any additional areas that you'd like to make sure we get incorporated into the meeting plans?
Well, one of the things you said, I understand that you said we were thinking about going to maybe small groups that are having meetings, but you want everyone to come to the meeting here and discuss. I think that there will be offshoots where people will get together and will have a discussion and might ask maybe one of the HRC people to come or tune into however they're having the meeting there. And I want that still to be an open thing because, of course, we'll have that leader out of that conversation come to the meeting and then give what they want to give. But I think it's still, we want our community to be also feel comfortable enough that if they want to get together to sit down and have a conversation, or when I say sit down, it's virtually, or however they want to do it, but have a discussion among them first and then bring whatever they want to bring to the table. But they have to feel comfortable enough first to talk amongst themselves and also decide amongst themselves how and what they would like to see.
I think that would be important. And when we invite individuals to come as leaders or members of nonprofits, we're asking them to come and share with us how their constituents or their members feel. And if that requires them to convene a group and get input, that would be wonderful. But my only concern is that we're public with the feedback that we receive and that we all receive it together. So I would hope that if individuals are having meetings, that members of this group are receiving the information at this meeting with the rest of us. That would be my request if we're going to openly share information, and how people collect information from their constituents or their member groups. I would want them to reach out as broadly as they could and bring us feedback from as many members, or bring individuals if they want to who are open to speaking, because I would agree that everyone can't speak for everybody, but there needs to be a way that every voice gets heard. So I'm totally open to and support that. Melissa, anything we've missed that's on your list of things you'd like to make sure we cover?
No, I just wanted to echo Michelle's concerns. I know that some community members are not comfortable coming to this official body or to these kinds of meetings. It can be very intimidating. So I do hope that if there are meetings out in the community, that we attend, that we could bring back what we learned while we were there. It's not always feasible to have everyone come to our meeting and speak to us all at once. So I just hope that option is there in the case that, in the case that it's not possible or people don't desire to come to give a report to us, that we can still, report back what we've heard out in the community.
So what would be important to me is if people don't feel comfortable, they can write us a letter. I think it's important that we all hear it, because what you hear may be different from what I hear. And it's important that we collectively are receiving feedback. Not that I wouldn't trust that you would bring us back the feedback, but I would hope that the community would care enough about this topic that they would bring us the feedback. They can send it to us in an anonymous email if they don't want their name on it. There are many organizations here that they can share that information with, but I would want the information to come to this committee before us to process it. So you certainly are meeting with organizations, are involved with them on your own, and that isn't anything that will in any way be affected by this committee. But what the committee officially receives, I'd like to have it come through the committee, either in an email, in a formal presentation, or in a conversation that we have here. So that would be my request of you. Pat, anything else you'd like to add?
I just want to say that I think we have a real great meeting for a start. And I think we have sort of accomplished a lot. We have talked a lot, and there was a variety of people that who will share their experiences based on the purpose of this, this committee, which I call PSIC, PCEC. It's a lot. So remember, PCEC, PSEC. And
Okay.
I'm looking forward to our next meeting not next, in 2 weeks. And
Okay.
I would to thank our committee staff for really arranging this one very well, and also to you, Madam Chair. Good,
Okay, well,
good start. Thank you.
okay. So hopefully for our next meeting, we can get several people in to talk with us. We'll have a couple of weeks here to work on that, and we'll be able to begin the feedback process as soon as possible.
Mhm.
So we're at the point now where on the agenda, we just have a list of upcoming meetings. If there's any reaction that you have to those dates or any concerns you have about any of the dates that are listed here on the agenda, let us know. But as Lauren said in the beginning, as we were going over the process, all of the meetings are on Thursday nights. They start at 6:30, and we're hoping not to be here later than 8:30, and you never know, on some occasions we may finish early. And the mayor has not given us a time frame. She hasn't said, I'd like this done in 30 days or 60 days, but we're going to take the time that we need to hear from the community and not feel that we're pressured or rushed, but to be open and hear the feedback. That was one of the strongest complaints that the mayor received from the town hall meeting, is there just was not time for everyone to be heard or to share their experiences. So that's our number one priority, and we'll make time to do that. If it takes us longer than we expect, we'll certainly stretch out the calendar to do that. So with that, we're at the end of our agenda, unless there are any closing thoughts or good of the order comments that didn't get made that anyone wants to share. If not, I'd like to thank the community that dialed in and spent this time with us, and would encourage you to be in touch with us, to share with us any feedback or thoughts or names or organizations you think we ought to be in touch with. We are truly committed to make this process as open as possible and as free for people to come. It would break my heart if anyone felt that this was an intimidating group and they couldn't trust us, because we're all very nice people and we all care deeply about the community. That's why we kind of raised our hand and offered to help facilitate this process so that the community can be heard. And I would hope that those people who are reluctant would see this as an opportunity to have their voices heard and to take an active role in addressing any issues that exist in the community. Myself, this committee, the mayor, the council, the police chief, everyone is committed to this process working. And if there's anything about it that we need to tweak to make it feel more comfortable for community members, I'm open to receiving that feedback, because we're investing the time and energy in this because we care. And we know that there are a lot of hard issues out there that people want to talk about, a lot of concerns people have. And this is the place and the opportunity for us to talk about them. So unless there's more feedback or more comments that want to be made, I think we're at our concluding time for tonight. Seeing no hands.
Thank you.
One more hand before we go. Okay, Michelle.
And I think the community needs to also understand, and I think you kind of said it, but I want to reiterate it again, that we're here to hear what's going on, but also to see how we can heal, what we need to do to heal, how are we going to resolve, or what action plans are we going to try to come up with so that that process can start working. So I think that's important that we just re-say that again. We're just not coming here to express that, these are the things that have happened. Okay, they have happened. How do we work with it? How do we heal? What do we need to do to move forward?
I would agree. I think that we're in this to all get better, and there's no one that can't get better. And so if there are things that are happening in the community, whether it's in our police department and any other part of the city, we want to fix it. We want to come up with some recommendations, suggestions, Not that we've been given a magic wand, but we have been asked to come back with some realistic recommendations for change that will help the community feel safer and have more trust for our police organization here in Union City. So with that, unless I see a hand, I think we're going to be adjourned. Okay. Thank you all. See you in a couple of weeks. Have a safe 4th of July.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.